We'll be continuing now the Beyond Birth and Death, class number 2.
Yeah.
So let me arrange the screen here. And last time we finished with this statement that the information on how to attain the soul's desire is given in the Bhagavad Gita. At present, we are trying to attain eternity, bliss, and knowledge by means of an imperfect instrument. Actually, our progress toward these goals is being blocked by the material body. Therefore, we have come to the realization of our existence beyond the body. Theoretical knowledge that we are not these bodies will not do. We have to keep ourselves always separate as masters of the body, not as servants. If we know how to drive a car well, it will give us good service. But if we do not know how, we will be in danger. So this is a great point here. We are trying to attain eternity, bliss, and knowledge by means of an imperfect instrument, right? We're trying to attain, we want to live forever. We're trying to prolong our body, get surgery. Whenever the organs fail, get the new organs. We talked about this last time. People are trying to preserve their life. They're trying to get to the level of eternity, but they cannot do it with this body. It's not possible. It's impossible. The body is destined to be destroyed one day or another, and this whole universe will be manifest and then unmanifest. So the whole universe will be unmanifest. No one can escape that. No living entity in this material world, in this material universe, on the material platform can escape that. That's a law of nature. So we're trying to get it, but this is an imperfect instrument. We're also trying to get that bliss. How are we trying to get bliss? People try to artificially produce bliss. They take some drugs, they take some alcohol, they do what feels good. They're trying to get bliss, but the instrument is imperfect. It cannot give you that bliss that you're looking for. It will end in suffering and misery, temporary. And we're trying to attain knowledge through our small brain. So small we are, so insignificant, but we're trying to use this tiny, insignificant intelligence, which we think is very great, to get full knowledge. That's impossible. We can never have full knowledge with these conditioned senses. So this is all very much imperfect, impossible. And it said, actually, our progress toward these goals is being blocked by the material body. So therefore, the material body is not so glorious. We think it's so great. We celebrate it. We worship it. We decorate it so much. But ultimately, it's blocking our eternal nature. So spiritual life means to see the world around us in a different way. We live in a different way from most people. Most people live the life looking to enjoy. We live the life with knowledge. We see the body differently. We don't see it as something to enjoy and who I am. We see it as an imperfect instrument for the soul. So therefore, the body is not the most important thing in life. We have to come to the realization of our existence beyond the body. Who am I really? We didn't make this body. Did you build that body that you have? No, we
No.
didn't do it. We just got it. It works so great. There's so much science, chemistry, biochemistry, everything going on in there. We didn't do it. We have to be humble. I'm not saying you, but many people out there, they don't think there's God. They don't even understand how their own body works. So we have to take that humble position and figure out, okay, what's the cause of this body and what's beyond the body?
Yeah.
And just knowing that theoretically it's not enough, we have to keep ourselves separate as masters of the body, not as servants. This is the Goswami. They become a master of their body and not the servant of the body. The servant of the body means we serve the dictations, what's called the Vegams, or the urges of the body. Every material body, physical body, will have certain desires based on that body, and it's different for all the species. The fish, they swim in a certain way, they get attracted to certain things based on their body. The dogs, They get attracted to a female dog because they have dog body. So we have to try to be the master, not the servant of the body. The servant of the body means I become a victim of the needs, the desires of my body, actually. It's not actually the needs, it's the desires. When we become victimized by that, when it overcomes our judgment about what is really best for us. And that's how people suffer because they give into what the body demands, like drug users. They're becoming totally victims. They're becoming servants. They have these cravings and they just give into it. So on a more subtle level, our body is always craving something, and we either become the servant of those cravings or we become the master. The master is the yoga position. They tolerate the cravings of the body, and by not giving into the body, they free themselves for a higher spiritual absorption.
Yeah, the this you talked about craving, and I think that is a really important point because uh, the cravings are something that are kind of a big hurdle for everyone in their life. And I mean, the all the junk food that we eat, if we are able to be the master of our body and just don't think about body that much, then we can also avoid like so much of eating that we do. And the more we eat, the body becomes actually it is more bad for the body and creates more health issues and more problems. And then we just keep on getting entangled into that bodily life where we are just thinking about body. We are trying to focusing on less eating, more exercise, and these kind of things. So I mean that makes completely sense. If we are able to just be away from body, don't think about it, and be in that spiritual life, then we can also make our body better also, like in that way. Because craving is a big
Yes.
problem. I mean, I understand that because even for, I think for every human being who are not completely into the spiritual life, they are struggling with this craving thing where they just feel like eating.
Mhm.
Not even they are not hungry, but they still feel like eating.
Yeah,
So
very good. These are nice
yeah,
points. Yeah, I mean, you're speaking on a very nice level. It's about the tongue, actually, the
yeah,
urges of the tongue. And
yeah.
definitely we get tested with that. In our society, in our culture today, though, in the Western culture, it goes much deeper than that. Because
Yeah,
people, they cannot control their basic behaviors. They're so
right,
impelled by things like lust that they act
right,
in ways very much dangerous for the soul. So when we're not controlling our body, we go actually into a spiritual danger because we become weak and therefore we lose our discrimination. Even though we know something is bad, one may not be able to stop it. So I would say the eating it's very true. And even sometimes, people they know it's wrong to eat certain things, but they do it anyway. But
right.
it can get even worse than that. It can get into the bad things we see in the world today. People are
Right.
becoming the servant. And the body, it doesn't just mean this physical body, but it's the subtle body also, the mind.
Yeah.
People, we become the servant of our mind instead of the master of our mind. So just like the body has different desires, the mind also has so many desires. The mind is like the boss of the body. The body is
Right.
like, all the um professionals, and the mind's like the boss. So they have their desires, but he also has his desires. And the mind,
Right.
he's kind of like controlling all of them. So then the mind wants certain things. The mind wants to enjoy something. So he engages the senses,
Right.
the intelligence, also, and the ego. The ego is the more subtle aspect of our material, subtle body. And the ego wants to be recognized.
Right. Right.
Very, very
Absolutely.
subtle that we can not really recognize it. We cannot really recognize it in ourselves because it's so subtle. That's the problem. But our ego wants to be recognized and put in the forefront, glorified. And that is very subtle to get rid of because that is keeping us from God, because actually God is meant for that position.
Right. And ego even makes people blind towards what is right and what is wrong. A lot of times, because of the ego, people even support the wrong things in their life, even if they are doing something wrong, but they will not accept that. they are doing something wrong because the ego makes them blind. They think that, oh, I'm a greater person, I'm the better person, like whatever I'm doing is correct,
Yeah.
and they forget about the like morality or the ethical values. So that is really true.
Welcome, Vishal. So we were reading a very
Hare.
interesting statement here that we have to keep ourselves as separate masters of the body, not as servants. So we're saying that when we are weak spiritually, we become victimized by the body, by the mind, by its desires, and we actually become its servant. But our natural position as the soul is to be the master of the body. That's the Goswami position, one who can control the senses, control the mind. That becomes essential in order to get to higher levels of consciousness. Because as long as we give in to that lower needs, then that absolute reality is cut off from us. A wall manifests between us and the divine consciousness because we are coming under the influence of the body, whether it's the gross body, the material senses, or our mind, the desires of the mind, the needs of the mind, the hankerings, or the lamenting of the mind, or the anger of the mind. That becomes the barrier. So the Goswami is the one, he has complete control. Because he's absorbed in that higher reality, all his mind, his senses, they fall under his control naturally. They fall in line because his consciousness absorbed in a higher reality. So he says, if we do not know how to drive a car well, if we know how to drive a car well, it will give a good service. But if we do not know how, we will be in danger. So we're talking that most people in our Western culture, they're in a spiritual danger because they're falling victim to the body, the mind, without even knowing it. So, Anand, do you want to read the next paragraph?
Yes. The body is composed of senses, and the senses are always hungry after their objects. The eyes see a beautiful person and tell us, oh, there is a beautiful girl, a beautiful boy. Let's go see. The ears are telling us, oh, there is very nice music. Let us go hear it. The tongue is saying, oh, there is a very nice restaurant with palatable dishes. Let us go. In this way, the senses are dragging us from one place to another, and because of this, we are perplexed. Indriyanam hi charatam yan mano nuvyudhyate tad asya harati pranam vayur navam ivam bhasi. As a boat on the water is swept away by a strong wind, even one of the senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. Gita
Yes, this is
2.67.
this is the point that on which the mind focuses. So the body will always be searching after these sense objects. That's the nature of the body. But the mind focuses, if the mind focuses on that, that's when one gets carried away. The
Right.
body is always looking for its objects. That's natural. But if you allow the mind to focus on that, that's when we get dragged away. So the real yogi, they can observe that happening, but they cannot focus their mind on it. And then they can focus on their higher reality. They can focus on service to Krishna, service to God. And in that way, although it's there, it doesn't carry them away. It doesn't drag them down. And that's what Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, that just as many rivers flow into the sea, but the sea is not disturbed, many of these desires, they may come in the mind, but we are meant to be absorbed in service, in a higher reality, or maybe in chanting, in a way that is positive. And in that way, even though all these rivers are flowing into our mind, we don't focus on them. If you don't focus on them, then they pass. But when we start focus on them, we start meditating on them, then they get stronger. We give them energy. You brought the example of junk food. So you may see an ad for something. Okay, you just drive right by it. But if you see the ad, then you remember when you went there, then you remember what it tasted like. Then you think about if you have enough money, you know what happens. So this is a very important point. Vishal, do you feel like reading or you're driving, huh?
I'm driving and it's raining and it's dark.
Okay. You stay focused. It is imperative.
Meditating on the road, Prabhuji.
Yeah. It is imperative that we learn how to control the senses. The name Goswami is given to someone who's learned how to master the senses. Go means senses, and Swami means controller. So one who can control the senses is to be considered a Goswami. Krishna indicates that one who identifies with the illusory material body cannot establish himself in his proper identity as spirit soul. Bodily pleasure is flickering and intoxicating, and we cannot actually enjoy it because of its momentary nature. Actual pleasure is of the soul, not the body. We have to mold our lives in such a way that we will not be diverted by bodily pleasure. If somehow we are diverted, it is not possible for us to establish our consciousness in its true identity beyond the body. Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam tayaparit chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadho na vidhiyate. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvandva Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Shemamatmavan. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. The Vedas deal with the subject of the three modes of material nature. Rise above these modes, O Arjuna. Be transcendental to all of them. Be free from all dualities and all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. So this verse is saying that in whom does determination, resolute determination for devotional service not take place? Those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and are bewildered by such things. It's natural. They're distracted. So we see sometimes, for example, in India, there's a culture to come to the temple to worship God, but often it's for some benefit. It's either for the good grades or it's to do dharma because that will bring money. So this is missing the whole point. We should come to God to be with God. If we bring in material desires, what we want to get out of it, then the real purpose is not achieved. The real benefit is not there. So we may have things we want, this and that, but when we're praying, chanting, doing our spiritual practice, we should not be introducing other desires. Oh, I want this, I need that. That will distract us. Then we cannot develop this resolute determination for devotional service. In other words, we should love God for God's sake, not for what He gives us. That's the higher level. And people do that because in the Vedas, there's benedictions. If you do this, you'll get this. If you perform this yajna, you'll get that. All of these are dealing with the modes of material nature, the material energy. So it's very important to study how these modes of nature work. And Krishna says again and again, actually you have to go beyond this. You have to go beyond this material energy, these modes of nature. You have to be transcendental to all of them. How does one become transcendental to the mode of goodness, or the mode of passion, or the mode of ignorance? Well, Srila Prabhupada teaches that one has to first situate themselves in the mode of goodness. By the mode of goodness, strengthens the religious principles. We are more likely to be religiously orientated when we're in the mode of goodness. And therefore, we do certain things in certain time of day, the place, the foods, the association, everything is under different modes of nature. So to get to transcendence first, one has to come to sattva guna. For example, in the lowest state of ignorance, the animals, there's no question of them realizing transcendence. So they have to come to more passion. Then the passion, they take human form of life. Human form of life means trying to get something, trying to work hard for something, some material benefit. That's the mode of passion. So from that platform, then also one cannot get to transcendence. But the mode of goodness, then one develops spiritual practice, sadhana. Then one starts to develop positive qualities like cleanliness, austerity, purity. Then one starts to become regulated. So by these influences, then the consciousness becomes more able to meditate on God. They become closer to that doorway, actually. The mode of passion is too much modes of material nature, too much going on, one cannot focus. But when the mind comes more to the mode of goodness, then naturally the meditation can become deeper. So to be transcending them first, we try to come to the mode of goodness. Or actually, we don't try. That will be a natural outcome. We will rise to higher modes of material nature. Be transcendental to all of them. Then from goodness, one has to transcend goodness, because goodness also poses traps. One feels content, satisfied, everything is okay. One has more knowledge, so they're not suffering as much, but then they become lazy. They become complacent. They think, okay, now I'm here, everything is good. Still, if one wants the transcendental position, they have to go beyond that, beyond all of them. Be free from all dualities and all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. So we're talking about a very special state of consciousness. It's very scientific.
Okay, I can read.
Yes.
Yeah. The word Veda means book of knowledge. There are many books of knowledge, which vary according to the country, population, environment, etc. In India, the books of knowledge are referred to as the Vedas. In the West, they are called the Old Testament and New Testament. The Muhammadans accept the Quran. What is the purpose for all these books of knowledge? They are to train us to understand our position as pure soul. Their purpose is to restrict bodily activities by certain rules and regulations, and these rules and regulations are known as codes of morality. The Bible, for instance, has 10 commandments intended to regulate our lives. The body must be controlled in order for us to reach the highest perfection, and without regulative principles, it is not possible to perfect our lives. The regulative principles may differ from country to country or from scripture to scripture, but that does not matter, for they are made according to the time and circumstances and the mentality of the people. But the principle of regulated control is the same. Similarly, the government sets down certain regulations to be obeyed by its citizens. There is no possibility of making advancement in government or civilization without some regulations. In the previous verse, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna that the regulative principles of the Vedas are meant to control the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Triguna Vishya Vedaha. However, Krishna is advising Arjuna to establish himself in his pure constitutional position as spirit soul beyond the dualities of material nature.
Yeah, very interesting.
I want to talk more about, like, I know you told about the goodness, passion, and ignorance, these three material nature. But what is so unique about these three things? Because there could be a lot of other things as well, but Lord Krishna talked about goodness, passion, and ignorance. I'm just trying to understand, like, how come these three things are Triguna Vishya Veda? Like, we do our activities, like, okay, so is it something related to our actions? Like, we try to do action to be good, like we think, okay, my action is good, so let me do this thing. And then the passion comes where we don't think about right, wrong, we just do something with a passion, like we are so much into it, like we want to do it so badly that we do that. And then the third is ignorance. So I'm just trying to relate, like, correlate all these three things, like why these three things came as like Triguna Vishya Veda.
Well, when you say Trigunya Vishaya Veda,
I mean, my question is about these three material nature, like why how they came up with these three modes of material nature. Why only these three?
yeah, that's a good question. you know, the scriptures, they classify material energy in different ways. So, for example, Kapila Dev, he talks about the 26 elements, and 3 modes of nature are included in that system. So the way I understand it, that this material energy can be categorized in different ways. And for our sake, the Shastra, the Acharyas, they have explained it in this way, the 3 gunas. So it's a way of characterizing different states of material nature. And they can be observed throughout the creation in different ways. So why 3? We can just accept that Krishna chose to explain it in 3 ways. It's a very perfect classification system. Now, it doesn't mean that there's only 3. The idea is that they are continuously mixing, that we don't find like a completely pure mode of goodness. They're always mixing. It's like a palette. You have different colors. You have red, blue, and yellow. And by mixing them, you paint the whole Sistine Chapel. All of the great murals, they can be done with 3 colors. So they're like the primary forces which then mix with each other and create all the varieties that we see. Why it's condensed into 3? You could go more. You could go into 9, 3 by 3. Each one can be affected. But when you reduce it to the primary point, it is observed in these 3 ways. The Bhagavad Gita talks a lot about this. If you wish, we can look at it a little closer.
Okay.
Maybe we'll get some more insights directly here. This is what Krishna says. Sattvam rajas tama iti guna prakriti sambhava nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Material nature consists of 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O Madhyam Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Purport: the living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with this material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by this material world, he's acting under the spell of the 3 modes of material nature. So then later on, we hear about these modes. Text 6. The mode of goodness, being purer than others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. So it's a way of understanding our consciousness. Because it's in connection to consciousness. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruit of actions. So, the last one. O son of Bharat, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion for all living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep. So it's a characterization system. That's what we can say.
Yeah, makes sense now. I got it. Like, yeah, that's true. Actually, everything that we do in our life is basically can be categorized into these 3 modes.
Mm-hmm. This is an amazing chapter also. At some point we can go maybe more into that, but let us continue here. I'll read the next one. As we've already pointed out, these dualities such as heat and cold, pleasure and pain arise due to contact of the senses with their objects. In other words, they are born of identification with the body. Krishna indicates that those who are devoted to enjoyment and power are carried away by the words of the Vedas, which promise heavenly enjoyment by sacrifice and regulated activity. Enjoyment is our birthright, for it is the characteristic of the spirit soul, but the spirit soul tries to enjoy materially, and this is the mistake. So we covered some of that last time. And what was interesting here, that these traditions of knowledge, Prabhupada says actually doesn't really matter which one. The purpose is to restrict bodily activities by rules and regulations. So he says it doesn't matter. They might differ from country to country, but that doesn't matter. They're made according to time and circumstance. So that's why we have to respect the other traditions also, that they were brought according to time and circumstance. So people are different, people need different, they have different ways of learning. So they need different regulations, different rules. But the principle is the same. And yeah, it's the ultimate purpose is actually to go beyond our constitution, our conditioned nature, and achieve our constitutional nature, which is actually beyond all of this. So we need the rules to regulate ourselves, but in the transcendental stage, one is automatically acting as a spiritual level. They don't have to force themselves to follow rules. They're just acting as the soul, which is free, which is pure, which naturally wants to go to Krishna. See, we need rules because we don't have that yet. So the more we progress spiritually, then the more it will become more natural for us. We start awakening our natural nature. And that is mentioned here, that enjoyment is our birthright, for it is the characteristic of the spirit soul. We are meant for ananda or bliss, just like your name. But we're looking for that ananda in the material realm, and that is the mistake.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Everyone is turning to material subjects for enjoyment
Sorry.
and is compiling as much knowledge as possible. Someone is becoming a chemist, physicist, politician, artist, or whatever. Everyone knows something of everything or everything of something. And this is generally known as knowledge. But as soon as we leave the body, all of this knowledge is vanquished. In a previous life, one may have been a great man of knowledge, but in this life, he has to start again by going to school and learning how to read and write from the beginning. Whatever knowledge was acquired in the previous life is forgotten. The situation is that we are actually seeking eternal knowledge, but this cannot be acquired by this material body. We are all seeking enjoyment through these bodies, but bodily enjoyment is not our actual enjoyment, it is artificial. We have to understand that if we want to continue in this artificial enjoyment, we will not be able to attain our position of eternal enjoyment.
Thank you, Prabhu. So it's 8:44. I think probably we'll wrap up here for today. And we have some things to reflect on. Think about, are we getting victimized by the senses, the body, the mind, the ego? Are we becoming the servant of them, the servant of the body? Or are we able to tolerate them? Are we able to master them? And in that way, absorb our consciousness in a higher level. So that's something we can all meditate on a little bit this week. And think about it next week. You can share. And we'll continue again. If you know anyone also, feel free to invite them. Today is the disappearance day of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we had a temple program here. Probably a lot of temples, they're doing different programs. And also the disappearance day of Gadadhar Pandit. And it's also Gundicha Marjanam, the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. So have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hari Bol.
Haribol.